Following a worldwide manhunt that lasted over 4 years, 2 men were captured in the winter of 2017 and brought to trial. They face charges including attempts to violate pop culture and sabotage the planet's entertainment industry. After being held for less than 48 hours, these 2 men escaped from a maximum security facility. The fugitives are now believed to be holding up in an unknown secret location where they continue to broadcast their messages to their ever-growing army of renegade followers. Known only by the code names of Theo Cane and Respek BA, these men are armed, these men are dangerous, and these men are criminals.
1, 2, testing. This is Theo Cane
and Respek BA,
and you are now locked into the sound of the Slimehouse Squadcast.
And this is the Lowdown Shelter.
And we're back again. And as always, you are now locked into the sounds of the Slimehouse Squadcast with myself and Respek BA.
What is happening, people of Planet Earth?
And this is the motherfucking Lowdown Shelter, top secret business. And this is, I forgot what episode we're on now, 6, 7, 8, 9, I forget, but we're just rolling with it now. And we've got lots to talk about. There's been lots of discussions on the social media, and also the Thor Ragnarok trailer just dropped, which is looking fucking incredible, so we're going to get into all that stuff.
Cool. And we've got quite a lot of random little things to talk about this week. Obviously, your homeboy over here made a little fucking cameo on a certain piece of shit ITV show. You've got to mention that.
Yeah. So you told me the other day that you were going to do this thing, but we couldn't mention it on the podcast. But if anyone didn't catch it, BA and Press One, 2 of the UK battle rap dudes, was asked via, was it Jump Off? Do you want to just, you explain it, BA, you explain it.
Yeah, basically, I don't, so the people who used to own the Jump Off company, which was the biggest battle company in the UK before Don't Flop, they sort of laid the foundations for, there being battle leagues in this country. You got to give credit where credit's due to that. And they always keep me in mind, and they also know that, I'm fucking good for writing quick things and doing shit like that. So they got contacted about a segment on the nightly show on ITV, and they broke it down to me like there's going to be 3 sections. The first section, Joe Pasquale shows up to a rap battle, interrupts it, then gets told he has to battle rap. The second segment is like they're going to say, like, okay, let's see how Joe's getting on back in the fucking rap battle. And it cuts back to it, and Joe Pasquale's now getting, like, body bagged off both me and Press One. And then the third segment at the end of the show was going to be like, okay, we're cutting back to Joe Pasquale again, let's see how he's getting on. And he's, like, inexplicably won over the crowd, and me and Press One are standing there looking dejected. And, it was a paid thing as well. So I was like, yeah, fuck it, man. It's just like, essentially, it's just like cameoing in a sketch, you know what I mean? And I get some of my bars on telly, that's cool, you know what I mean? So I did that. But then, okay. First of all, Theo, there's some shit that fucking I want to get off my chest just about the filming, man.
Yeah.
Okay, so I show up, and Joe Pasquale shows up 10 minutes before the filming starts, which is par for the course, I suppose, if you're like the main guy in a segment for telly or whatever. But what I found interesting was his ghostwriter showed up about an hour and a half before him. His writer. And straight away that made me lose a bit of respect for Joe Pasquale because, I like artists that write their own shit. You know what I mean? Like, especially in the fields of comedy and hip-hop, I think it's really important. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, so his ghostwriter shows up an hour before, this old Cockney guy, about 65 or something. He's like, so what sort of stuff you guys going to be saying to Joe then? And so I gave him a little preview of my shit. And, I mean, the guy was cool with it, but then the first thing I noticed was the guy was like, oh, so it's just like comedy mixed with rap. Or crap for short. Ha ha ha, that's great. I'll give that to Joe. And I just thought, oh, you lot are really in some trouble if you think that's fucking great, homie. Like, you know what I mean? So, yeah, that was the first thing I noticed. And anyways, another interesting fact, by the way, is that in the comedy circle, Joe Pasquale is known as a joke thief.
Right.
So,
okay.
I don't know if you know that.
No,
but there's actually, if you look on YouTube, there's comedians with jokes about Joe Pasquale stealing jokes. So the fact that he has ghostwriters tells me it's this horrible network where he sends this old guy who I met out to, open mic nights at comedy clubs and shit, and he's sitting there with his little fucking bit of toilet paper jotting down up and coming comedians' material to bring back to the man that's making the money in it. So it was a shame to see that. Joe Pasquale shows up. Everything's fair enough, but yeah, I did actually have to tell my man to chill the fuck out, as you know, because Joe Pasquale got up in my face in one take, right? Like proper got up in my face, almost touched my face with his hat, and I just explained to him like, look man, I respect comedy, and I know like you're acting here, and this is an act, but I'm in this world for 30 minutes, and then I got to go back to my world for the rest of my life, and in my world, I wouldn't let someone touch me in the fucking face with a hat, innit? So, yeah, had to say that to him. Anyways, I found the experience in general just interesting. I don't think any of this shit's cool. I don't think it was cool I was on ITV, do you know what I mean? But worst thing of it all, and you know this, because you were chilling with your mum and your sister watching me on ITV.
Me, my sister, my mum, and Misha all watching that.
Yeah, but so obviously then you know, as I said, it was meant to be a 3-section sketch, and as you know, the middle section was not televised.
Yeah. Well, it made no sense to me that the sketch just made no sense.
Yeah, the middle section wasn't televised, which was the part of me in Press 1 battle rapping him and belittling him. And here's how monumentally different that makes the sketch, okay? So the sketch, the way they pitched it to me was, he shows up like a fish out of water, accidentally fucking, gets put into the situation where he has to battle, gets made to look a fool in the battle, and then at the end he wins them over, right?
Yeah.
But if you take out the middle bit, it's just like Joe Pasquale pisses in the mouth of our culture. Because he showed up wearing, his fucking rapper outfit, which is, first of all, a mockery. Because he could have showed up in his suit.
The fucking sideways hat and all that shit.
Yeah, because,
if he... chain style thing.
If he'd have showed up in his suit, it would have just been like, yeah, it's me, Joe Pasquale, wearing what I normally wear, and I'm at a rap battle. But no, straight away he's like, sideways hat, yeah, this is what a rapper looks like, haha. And then, this is what the sketch is now, if you take out the middle bit. Joe Pasquale shows up to your picnic, pisses on the table and kicks over your sandwiches. Everybody at the picnic table cheers him. End of sketch.
Yeah.
That's because if you take out the middle component, it's like Joe Pasquale, a fish out of water, fucking waltzes into a rap battle where he doesn't fucking belong, takes the absolute piss out of everyone, and we fucking applaud him for it. So yeah, I just think... And the other thing I took away from that day is, like, I don't care if ITV hear this either, because I'm too old to give a fuck about bridge burning and blackballing myself. Like, yeah, the level of writing, if that's the level of writing at the fucking highest level of British TV, God have mercy on our souls, man. Because I was just thinking, it's a really poorly written sketch, even with all 3 segments. And with one segment taken out, it's just like taking the piss out of our culture. The culture was the punchline of the sketch, and Joe Pasquale was meant to be the punchline of the sketch. Do you know what I'm saying?
Well, because they took your rapping out of it, they could have effectively just got any 2 guys to just stand there and pretend to be rappers, because they didn't show any of yours or Press One's material off at all. So, driving your dudes down there and paying for anything were like a waste of their money, because they didn't even use your guys. So, if anything, anyone that puts it on and sees that it's a rap battle, they'll just be happy that it were you and Press One that were in that shot and not just 2 randomers.
No doubt. I mean, it is a cool thing at the end of the day, I guess, to be chosen. But yeah, I just thought the sketch was weak sauce, the writing was weak sauce, and the final edit was the weakest sauce of all. And then they ended up putting the middle segment on YouTube, on their YouTube channel. So it's like Joe Pasquale gets roasted, and that's like one of the many takes of me and Press One rapping at him. And if they were going to do that, they might as well collaged it, mate, because by the end I was getting tired of fucking, retaking with the same bars, so I just started going off the dome on him a bit. and I remember some of the bars being good and getting good crowd reactions, but yeah, they just chose to put one take of it on YouTube.
How many times did you have to do it?
We had to do each take about fucking 6 or 7 times, innit? Yeah, man. So, and that's the other thing. You see that take that's on YouTube? That's about take 5. So the crowd, there's no natural crowd reaction anymore. It's just a whack take, man. They could have used a way better take. Like.
I recognise the location though. I think what were they called? Cold City Battles, hosted by Charlie Sloth, Chronicle, and Her, and all that were on them like about 5 years ago.
Yeah, that's it, man. It's a little like auto repair shop out in Wembley, but I think the jump off are cool with the owners, so they used that as one of their,
Right.
little locations things.
Yeah, I recognise the location. Well, at least you got to get on TV, bro.
Nah, but you know me, mate. I don't even fucking give a fuck about that shit. Like, for some reason, everyone I've spoke to about it thinks that's cool, and I think that's the shittest part about it, mate. Cause
I think it's cool because you get to see how the TV people work, and if anything, it shows that that's just not for you.
it shows to me that you deserve to be a millionaire. Fucking so many people. It made me think, like, I mean, it's easy to appreciate the Sistine Chapel, but it's really hard to spare a thought for the thousands of painters that just never got the commission to do that piece of work, who died just as talented but broken, unheard of, and just lost in the abyss of the history of the world.
Yeah.
And it makes me spare a thought for all them people, because I know there's talented people sitting in their rooms with no money right now, fucking scraping to eat and all of that, and they're 20 million times more talented than any individual I met in the realm of creativity on that day, aside from the other hip-hop related people like Press One.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just a shame to see, man, that at the very, very top level, the cream does not always rise to the top. There's a phrase that counteracts every other phrase, and some people say the cream rises to the top, but in my experience, in the arts, nice guys finish last is way more true.
I get you.
So,
there was a bar. In fact, I think it was like 4 years ago or 5 years ago to like yesterday or something. We released a track, myself, Dialect in Shinobi, and I had a bar about it at the time about all this shit. See if I can remember it. It said something like, I should have changed courses in college because art and music don't pay nobody nothing. I should walk through Radio 1 dressed as a security with a chrome in my pocket, grab Fern Cotton, and tell everyone if they move I'll blow a big nose all over the office and force it upon them to play me, D and Shinobi until all country knows that we're on it. Because I'm done with putting out vids up and we'll get lucky and promoters will watch it. Something like that. I can't remember it bang on, but it was that whole thing of like, you can spend all your life fucking like training in art and music and all that shit, and no one could give a fuck. Sometimes you feel like just going up in there with a fucking strap and putting it to Fern Cotton's head on on BBC Radio. It's like, listen, this is how it's going down. But have you seen? I got the ideas from that film Airheads. You ever seen the film Airheads with fucking Adam Sandler and Adam Sandler?
Brendan Fraser and that.
Yeah, you know the one where they're sick of the music not getting heard, so they just go and
hold the
they hold the fucking radio station hostage so that they play the music. They're called the Lone Rangers. And yeah, it's got a fucking sick cast, man. That was just what that bar inspired by. I'm not urging people to go and wail a gun around in the BBC radio, but sometimes you do feel like that when you're fucking working really hard on shit and no one gives a fuck. It's the Kinder Egg story all over again. It really is. And you see a lot of shit people getting promotion, getting good stuff, and obviously like you're getting these guys that work at ITV that can't fucking write a comedy sketch to save their fucking lives, and then you've got sick people, even just in battle rap, tons of cool talented people that can write like stuff that just blows my mind, and no one gives a fuck.
Yeah, I know, man. It's a shame, innit? Because see, when you actually think of the collective creative writing ability of, say, the top 10-20% of battle rappers in the world, imagine if you put all of them in a fucking room for a year, gave them 2 million quid, and just be like, Boof, come up with fucking stand-up comedy ideas, TV show ideas, film ideas. Like, you get so much wealth back from a project like that just because of the people you got involved in it.
Yeah. I've thought that myself before. And like I see a lot of people. I mean, not even naming names and stuff, but I see so many people out on Instagram and shit that have like shitty fucking clothing labels where they just do literally nothing, no effort.
Yeah.
Or like tattoo artists that just do a squiggly line, or people that are like just splatting a bit of fucking paint on a canvas and selling it for a stupid amount of money, when like there's artists that are fucking incredible that no one cares about. And I see people with like a shitty clothing label with something just fucking like what one word fucking print screened onto it in a basic font, and they're getting fucking 50 million fucking likes. Like, it pisses me off, that shit. It's all that smoke and mirrors shit. Like, it's
Telling you, man, that's why I was saying before. That's why I fucking sort of love martial arts as well, because as a person that has to experience a subjective judging on what's good and bad, it's great to see a field where, like, if you keep fucking knocking the dude out, you'll get everything you deserve.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's unfortunately not true of many arts, but martial arts is one type of arts where it's like, you fucking keep winning, you'll get that money.
Yeah, exactly. You can't turn up to be a martial artist and throw the shittest kick ever and get 50 million fucking followers buying your shit like you can in art, because art is like visual art is it's all down to interpretation, and you can't say it's shit or not shit. I can, because I'm an artist and I fucking spend time and time perfecting my craft. So if I see someone doing something shit, I can say that's fucking shit and talentless. But as a critics and shit, they have their own opinion on stuff, and that's why in martial arts, like you've just said, if you turn up and you just spark someone's fucking face off every time you're in the ring, you can't not make noise and get seen as one of the best. And I like to think that if you are good enough at what you do, if you keep doing it, you keep at it, and you stay hungry, then you can't not get noticed.
But it's kind of funny though, man, because I know me and you have both been in battles where if that was like the fight equivalent, it would have been a fucking kicking.
Yeah.
And I'm not naming names, but I've been in battles where I think anyone who understands hip hop properly, it's been a clear kicking. And just because it's subjective, people sometimes think the other person still wins, isn't it? So you just fucking can't win when
it's all down to personal preference, isn't it? But like, I remember reading Arnold Schwarzenegger's book. He said that he had no money. He was from the shittest family ever, but he wanted to be a Hollywood movie star. He's like, I could barely speak English. I had a name that people couldn't even pronounce. But I was destined to want to be a Hollywood movie star. So he thought the first step I can do is just become the biggest dude in the world, and then they can't not notice me. So that's why I just used to break into his gym, wrap a fucking towel around his hands, and train on weights while it was so frozen. He had to wrap a towel around his hands so that his hands didn't stick to the fucking dumbbell. And he just said I'd just do that and become the biggest guy in the world, so that they had to notice me, all because he wanted to be an actor. So it's that thing again. Like, you just have to make so much noise that people can't not notice you.
Yeah, that's it, man. But,
it's just shit, because these people, like, let's say those ITV people, with a snap of their fingers, they could have put you in front of someone that like the person to know. Do you know what I mean? Check this, right? Like, I'm not even going to name names, but I know a couple of dudes that work for Unilad, and this was of no reflection of them. But I drew a picture a few years ago that's it had all PlayStation characters on, so it had Crash Bandicoot and Spyro and Gex, and just a load of like Jersey Devil and stuff, Rayman and things, like classic PlayStation characters, and I just did them all like jumping forward together like they were in like a Saturday morning cartoon series kind of thing. Just a cool idea I had, and I did it, and I put it on Facebook and whatever, and on my DeviantArt, and everyone liked it. But I mean, it got like, everyone I showed loved it, but I didn't promote it to the masses in any way, shape, or form. Now everyone knows Unilad; they're huge on Facebook and stuff. But someone at Unilad saw it and posted it on their Facebook, but didn't credit me. They'd just seen it somewhere random and didn't credit me. Now, they had no way of knowing it was me. I know people that work at Unilad, but they didn't see this post. And some guy posted my picture, didn't credit me, and it got fucking like 16,000 likes or whatever, 20-odd thousand likes in like a few hours. And I was like, oh, fucking hell, that's my picture, man. All they'd have had to do is put my Instagram on it, do you know what I mean? And even if I got 5,000 fucking followers from 16,000 people, 20,000 people liking it, even if you got 1,000 followers, 500 followers, just from people that are like potential people that like share and look and check out the stuff we're doing in the future and check out my art and whatever, maybe even buy a few prints, like that's all it would have took. But they didn't.
It's a shame, man. It's a little critique that this isn't even coming from me, but in general, I believe there's a common critique of Unilad that, you know, they purposely do that. Everybody knows it's kosher to credit people if you put something up. Be like, yo, check out more of their stuff. But then that diverts additional traffic away from your post, because then they go to the source. So some could argue it's a purposefully done thing to get more people straight back to the source rather than promote the people that are creating
Well,
the
what they
content.
did, not really, because they credited someone. They credited like a PlayStation forum or something they'd seen it on. But they didn't credit me. But then I got in touch with the people I know at Unilad, and they were like, "Oh fucking hell, yeah, we'll change it." So they did change it, but by the time they changed it, it had already done it had already done its rounds. Do you know what I mean?
Well, that
So
again is a story I've heard happen quite often though. The first couple of weeks they put a post up, and then after the first 2 weeks when no one's real checking it anymore, the credit comes in. Again, just things I've heard.
But you've got to think like with stuff like that ITV thing and big companies like Unilad and that, to it'd only take them to like promote something once and boom, it can that might be 5,000 more followers overnight for the stuff that you're doing. And when you're like you're working hard and you're doing it all off your own back, and you're wanting to promote yourself and get your stuff out there and get noise heard, it's just shit that like there's lots of opportunities out there that would give them, and there's lots of people out there getting opportunities that aren't even that fucking good. When there's so many cool people doing good shit that aren't getting no fucking recognition.
Yeah.
So anyway,
I agree, man.
The moral of that is just fucking keep grafting and just keep what you're doing. And if we thought that it were that wouldn't work, then but he's tried and tested. There's so many people out there that did make or break. I always refer back to Boris Karloff playing Frankenstein. He didn't get the part of Frankenstein till he was like in his late 40s. He'd spent all his life trying to become an actor. Got his part as Frankenstein and then became one of the most recognizable faces in the fucking world of movies in his late 40s. So it's never too late to fucking smash it. Just keep on your shit. Anyway, moving on. We've got lots to talk about. Yeah. Oh, I also wanted to shout out my boy Dom. Dom's one of our most dedicated Chef Spendables crew. He's one of our youngest. He's one of the youngest guys in the team, but he's very fucking dedicated. Decided he wanted to get into battle rapping. I actually met him as like a big fan of Don't Flop and battle rapping and stuff. Since then, he's become one of my closest friends, and he did his first rap battle yesterday, and he won it. It was for a league called Dub Scandal Battle League. So yeah, just wanted to say shout out to my boy Dom and keep up the good work. It was better than my first performance, I think. Like delivery wise and stuff, he killed it. So big ups to Domsky one every time. And I also wanted to shout out. So you know the movie Unit 11. There's a chick in it. You might have seen her. Busting off the big sniper rifle in the trailer and stuff like that. Anyone that's been watching it, her name's Helen Androwska. It's a Polish surname. You'll struggle to spell it, and I've known her years, and I still can't spell that shit. But she's fucking awesome. And there's another girl that helped us a lot, who's close to Helen, who did a lot of like the behind the scenes stuff and helped driving us around and a bit of filming and stuff. That's Ellie, and they've both created their own fucking game, bro. So they've created this game called Tetra Elemental Awakening, and they when I tell people about I'm making a movie, you've spent years telling people, "Oh, I'm making a movie." Do you know what I mean? And I'm sure that you get a lot of people that are like, "Oh yeah, that's nice. Well, when it's out, I'll check it out." Do you know what I mean? They don't really think too much into it. So they've probably had a similar thing telling people, "Oh, we're making a game," and they told me I'm making a game. It's a full game, and I was like, "Oh yeah, man, that's fucking cool. Like I look forward to seeing it." Never did I expect it to be of such quality as what it is. It's fucking awesome, bro. So they've made this like full RPG game called Tetra Elemental Awakening. If you want to search Ocean Spark Studios on Facebook, you can check that out, or Tetra Elemental Awakening. And it's cool as fuck, man. It's got like big lava golems in it, and like rat skaven people and elves and shit running around, all that fantasy stuff. So I just wanted to shout them out because they've spent a long time making this game, and every bit of promotion I've seen has been fucking on point and grade A. Like they've got lots of sick perks running on the Kickstarter and stuff, and I think that they went to one event and some guy proposed to like fund them like 25 grand there and then. I don't know where that's gone now, but just wanted to say shout outs to Helen and Ellie smashing it with Tetra Elemental Awakening as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. Big ups.
And we've got a lot of people wanting to ask us about a lot of things. So something I'm going to hit on straight away is it's a discussion that Ricardo Lacombe, again, always our guy, wanted us to talk about. And it's quite fitting because Star Wars Rogue One is out today. This is Monday that we're recording the podcast, Monday the 10th. So it's out today. And oh man, I've been waiting for this film for so long. I watched it in cinemas and were blown away. I loved it. You get your haters saying that they didn't like this and that. I don't give a fuck. I thought it was bad. It's one of the best cinema experiences I've had watching Rogue One. And I'm a big Star Wars guy. So that's out today. And any day now they've got to be dropping the trailer for the new Star Wars. So I'm definitely going to be looking forward to that because I think like on Friday it had been a whole year since they dropped the first Rogue One teaser. So any day now we're going to be expecting, the new Star Wars. So
I still haven't got round to seeing Rogue One yet.
Rogue One's sick. And hold tight, homie Rizzle, who obviously started in Don't Flop. He's got a cameo in there. Riz Ahmed, who you know because you battled him in Jump Off, he's up in there. Like, this is a cool fucking thing, bro, that they're repping our people, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, man, as we said, all the Rizzes, they're coming.
Yeah, they're both Rizzes are there. It's just cool as fuck, man, to see someone like who was battling in Jump Off and then he went off and they did Shifty and Four Lions and stuff. And he's done lots of movies, but then he's fucking in Rogue One. Like if there was something to tick off the bucket list before you die, if you're into acting and stuff, and you're into that kind of shit, fucking hell, Star Wars has got to be up there. That guy's only got to do a Marvel movie now, and he's gonna be dying a very happy guy. So yeah,
Star Wars sets you for life anyway, because even if you don't work again, you can do like Comic-Con for the rest of your days.
That's it, bro. That's it. You got the Comic-Con, you got the action figures and all that shit. Just think, you're in Star Wars. Even if you're a little background character with a fucking mask on, you're guaranteed to get an action figure made here because that's what Kenner do. They make action figures of all the little background characters and everything. So what Ricardo asked is if we think that Disney are going to be oversaturating Star Wars, because what he's gone from, like, obviously you got your original trilogy, then they did the episode 1, 2 and 3, which I never liked. I thought they were too distant from the other ones, and then they've brought these new ones out, which I fucking love, and they're sick. There's a ton of practical effects in there. I've actually got a friend, Tim Berry. He works in the animatronics department on Star Wars, so hold tight, Tim Berry, every time. But he's asked, I mean, at the minute we're getting told that there might even possibly be a Rogue One sequel. Now, I don't know if that was April Fool's or not. I've not looked into it far enough because I've not had time. But Ricardo was just asking, like, if we think that they're going to oversaturate it by doing too many Star Wars films. What do you reckon?
Well, I think that's about to happen because obviously Marvel are making so much money with their oversaturation tactic.
Yeah. Well, you know this shit's all owned by Disney, so Disney owns Star Wars and Marvel.
Yeah. So of course Disney are just going to do the same thing with Star Wars they did with Marvel. Essentially, I mean, there's going to be fucking Han Solo movies and Boba Fett movies and all of that shit. You know what I mean? So
you see, I don't
happen because the problem is they can't all be good. There's going to be clangers, and when the clangers start coming, that's when the fans will notice the oversaturation. Like,
I think because I'm such a creature of the internet and everything I see, I'm just like, yeah, give me more. I want more shit. I want more like that. Like, even if you get one that's not as good as the others, you're like, it's all right because there's another one coming out next year and hopefully that one will be better. I think with the world Star Wars, there's so much you can do because it's such a vast landscape. I just think it might help to not have everything revolve around Luke and Darth Vader and Han Solo and all that kind of shit. That's a galaxy where you could tell 100 stories. That's why I always like the Ewoks films that no one ever talks about. Ewoks Battle for Endor's sick because it's just another little Star Wars story that takes place in that world, effectively like a little spin-off comic. So you could effectively just make a Star Wars film about 6 bounty hunters in a spaceship that run into a rival pirate team and are trapped in the middle of nowhere and have to fucking fight each other. And it's just a six story. Like the Scottish ninjas. Well, you know you got the Scottish ninjas, don't you, from Star Wars: The Force Awakens?
Of course, I know about the Scottish ninjas.
So make a movie about them motherfuckers. Kanja Club and the other ones. You could have made a story all about those dudes. So So I don't think you can oversaturate Star Wars, but I think you can oversaturate doing stuff with those same characters because it's such a vast world. And obviously Marvel, they've got all different little stories going on that are all connected, but they're all their own little stories. So I think that if they just keep it nice and spread, they'll be doing all right. I don't want to see I don't want to see a sequel to Rogue One just because I think that was so perfect. But I know for a fact if it comes out, I'll go and watch it because I'm a sucker for Star Wars.
Yeah. I was gonna say my ideal Star Wars film, would be like a remake of Nightmare on Elm Street in Star Wars. So
how's that work?
Okay, let me talk you through it. You might feel it, right?
Yeah, go on.
So you know the opening scene of Nightmare on Elm Street where you don't even see his face, you just see this creepy set of hands working on a fucking Ironmonger's thing, building his glove.
Yeah, he's got all the different ones.
So imagine this Star Wars opens with some evil Sith Lord and you just see him building his fucking saber. And at the very end of the intro, he just fucking pings it on. You see the fucking red thing and cut, right? But we're keeping going with the Nightmare on Elm Street thing. So it's about a Sith, an evil fucking ninja Darth Maul Sith with a hit list of fucking Jedi councilmen he's looking to take out. So it's basically like Nightmare on Elm Street. He goes around fucking murking these Jedis, and all along there's some Heather Langerkamp Jedi breeder or female who are twigging on it, and then the final battle will be between them two. I think that would be a sick film. I want to see some dark shit, mate.
Well, Rogue One is probably the darkest one they ever did, so I think you'll like it a lot, man. But that's a sick idea. As I said, you could tell so many stories within the Star Wars world. It doesn't even have to be to do with Jedis and Siths. Have it about fucking space pirates or some shit. Have it about someone on a water planet or some shit. There's loads you can do. I just think that when you've got a world that's that vast, there's so many things that you could bring into it. So many different elements.
I swear the second film in the last trilogy was on a water planet. Remember when they go to that clone planet?
They've had stuff that's taken place, like a few scenes on a water thing. I just mean in general, like you could have a whole film set in that. There's so many things you can do. I don't want to see Star Wars die, and if they're cool, then keep them coming. But I think just choose wisely. Choose wisely on the
obviously
on
rest
the Star
in peace
Wars
to Carrie Fisher. Hold tight, Miss Leia.
Oh mate, that was some shit news, brother. Do you know, like when that shit happens, when someone dies and all of a sudden everyone assumes that everyone like tries to put across, oh, I was their biggest fan, I loved them, blah rah 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 rah. Like that is one that really fucking hit me hard, bro. Like anyone that's into Star Wars, like Princess Leia was one of their fucking first loves. Do you know what I mean? And it's just it was a shit time. It was a very shit thing to hear. And yeah, it was. Do you know what it were? She died a couple of days after Rogue One came out. And Rogue One, I mean, I'm so into Star Wars, and like all this shit that I love, I've got so many little nostalgic fucking emotional attachments wrapped up into all of it that it always fucking gets me in the heart when I watch any of this Marvel or this Star Wars shit and stuff. But at the end of Star Wars Rogue One, spoiler alert, you see Princess Leia, but young Leia, do you know, from the old films. You see Leia looking 18 years old, 19 years old in Star Wars, and you just see her for a second, and she turns around and they've done the digital thing on her face, and that's the only part of the film that made me want to well up. Do you know what I mean? I was like, oh shit, that was like when Han Solo dies in Force Awakens, and like I'm like, oh man, and I'm getting the feels in the cinema, which is not often. I don't often get the feels for anything, but I do get them in the fucking cinema watching Star Wars and shit. And so that was the thing that made me choke up watching that film, and then a couple of days later, she fucking died, bro. So it was like, oh mate, that was grim. That's grim. But as you was talking about Heather Langenkamp, she's coming to HorrorCon this year. It's just been announced. So that's fucking awesome because it means I'll get to meet her hopefully. So maybe
we'll get to meet her.
Mate, bro, this is in like 2 weeks. This next HorrorCon. The next HorrorCon's like in a couple of weeks, bro.
Ah, see. So I'm gonna need to fucking think fast if I'm a come to it.
Yeah. So hopefully I might even get a fucking interview with her, bro. Who knows? I got some sick ones last year, but this shit's getting busier and busier every time. These guys barely get a chance to go for the dinner now. Do you know what I mean? It's so busy. But it was a sick thing to announce that we're getting Heather Langenkamp. She's a fucking legend. Sick, and you know that Heather Langenkamp's like, or anyone that's listening that doesn't know who she is, she plays Nancy in Nightmare on Elm Street 1, 3, and New Nightmare. But she's actually, she runs like a special effects studio and shit now. She does loads of fucking special effects for TV and things. So she's up there. She doesn't have to do this con stuff. She does it because she obviously loves it. There's a documentary about her called I Am Nancy, and you see she seems like a very cool, genuine bird, man. And she still looks good. She's still looking good, man.
I thought she smashed it in Wes Craven's New Nightmare as well, man. She came back and smashed it.
Definitely. So that's to look forward to. Also, we saw and there was some more discussion topics on there. People wanting us to talk about the new Aliens. So yeah, have you seen the trailer for Alien Covenant? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I have. Well, I'm always Captain Negative on this podcast. I've assumed my role. I've accepted it. Fuck it. Yeah, I thought the Xenomorphs look well cooler when they're done with practical effects as opposed to CGI.
Yeah, I think
Aside
I
from
w-
that, it looks
yeah.
good, man.
I was just gonna say, I think that's like everyone on the internet saying the same thing. The voice of the internet is currently that like it's wicked to see a xenomorph again. However, it's not looking all that in broad daylight in see. I don't think we've ever seen a xenomorph in broad daylight ever. So this is unless it's been in a game or something. So to see one in a movie in broad daylight and it be full digital, that's not working for me. As much as I'm looking forward to this film and I'll be there on opening night watching it. I loved Prometheus, and it ties obviously into Prometheus and all the other stuff that Ridley Scott's built into this world. I'm not feeling CG aliens. I think that you need those Stan Winston style, full on fucking animatronic puppets. That's what makes them look real. The good thing about an alien is it is pretty much expressionless. It doesn't have eyes and stuff. If you know anything about art or drawing, a lot of a character or a creature's expression all comes from its eyes and its eyebrows. And if you cover up the eyes and the eyebrows and it's just the mouth moving, it's especially with an alien that has limited muscles. It's more like an insect. It's like an ant, isn't it? It's like a termite. So you can do that practical and really fucking get away with it. And they had practical effects in Prometheus for the alien, the alienish creature that was in it. So I don't know why they've gone with the CG. And I'm hoping that by the time it comes out, the CG's improved a lot. There's no excuse when something's more like a machine than it is an organic creature, which I would say an alien's more like a machine. When you're watching like Neil Blomkamp, Chappie and that kind of thing, and Elysium, his fucking CG's on point. And even his District 9 shit, they're like alien insects, his CG's on point. So that you need to be that's the fucking benchmark. So if you're a CG artist, a CG team, and you're doing the effects for Hollywood movies, surely your benchmark is something that came out fucking 8 years ago that's bad. Make it look like that. So I have seen stuff before when trailers come out and the effects were not the final effects. These are like The Hobbit. That's like a really well known one for the effects being completely different when the movie came out to what they look like in the trailer. We'll just have to see, bro. But I'm looking forward to it. I love Alien. I love that universe. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how they tie it all together.
What's your favourite of the original Alien films?
Well, it's got to obviously be a toss up between 1 and 2, but they're so different. It's probably 2 for me. We had my friend Adam. We once had a saying. It's not really a saying. It was just a thing we used to say that James Cameron should do the fucking sequel to every Ridley Scott film. And it would have been so. Imagine if you had you had Prometheus and then you had Prometheus 2 directed by James Cameron, and it's just like and it's a big action film. Start his first one like a moody fucking thriller horror kind of thing, very stalky and down to earth, and then you met the second one, an action spectacular. So yeah, Aliens is one of the sickest films ever made, and that's definitely my favorite of the two. Not taking anything away from the first one, I just love Aliens.
Yeah, no, I'm the exact same, man. For me, it's the second one.
I love those space corporal marines and shit. I love Michael Biehn. I love obviously Bill Paxton's in there. Hold tight, rest in peace, that guy. He's just fucking passed, which was another fucking
game over,
shit
man.
Thing.
Game
over. Exactly.
If
in fact we found out that Bill Paxton had died as soon as we'd stopped rolling on the Mike Hill interview. We'd just stopped rolling on the Mike Hill interview, and one of the dudes that was helping us on camera, Aaron, he says, sorry, Mike, he said, "Yo, bro, like." Bill Paxton's just fucking died, and we were like, raw, that's wank, bro, that's some fucking shit. So big up to Bill Paxton, man. We showed Weird Science at Slimehouse last week at our cinema in respect for him, and before he died, the week before, we showed fucking True Lies. So we're acting like we're Bill Paxton fans all of a sudden, like we've been repping my guy from fucking day. And
yeah,
most
man,
famously, not most famously, but very well known fact, next to Lance Henriksen, the only dude to ever get killed by an alien, a predator, and a Terminator. So that is quite
a feat, to be honest.
Yeah, him and Lance Henriksen are the two guys that have only ever had that. That's a good thing to have etched into your fucking coffin, brother. So yeah, Aliens is my favourite. What's your favourite out of the Alien films?
Exact same, the second one. I completely agree with you. James Cameron just went through this weird period where he could take a classic and make a superior sequel. Terminator 2, Aliens, I don't know what my man was on back in that era, but Jesus Christ, before the Titanic and all that bollocks, he was just smashing it, mate. Aliens 2, Aliens, there's so many fucking great things in that film. Obviously, when Ripley gets in the power loader at the end and clashes the Queen.
Oh man, what a fucking scene! What a scene! Carry on, sorry. Just buzz off that
no,
shit.
I know, mate. I know. Get away from her, you bitch! And then it goes down, mate. But or stay away or whatever it is. And then you know what else I really rated? You know nowadays this would all be CG.
Yeah.
But you know how they had the drop ship and they dropped out that tank?
It's all miniature. I love the miniatures.
Yeah, so sick, mate.
It's
It
that
just looks
Godzilla
like they're
shit.
actually on an alien. And again, non-CG of the face huggers. It's
Yeah.
just different. See, here's the thing, right? See, when you have CG,
Mhm.
the human eye is so hard to genuinely fool. So when we watch films, we already understand it's not real.
We do.
But what we're seeing is there. Now, when you add CGI, we have to put our brain through the process of one, yes, what we're watching isn't really happening, and two, what we're seeing isn't even actually there. And for me, it always will be more impactful to see a fucking actual animatronic face hugger on someone's face with a tail wrapped around their neck. Like, rah, get that thing off your fucking face, bro.
Yeah.
And if it's CGI, it's just like, oh yeah, it's just like some fake shit they put on his face
Mm.
afterwards. Like, it has a completely different effect on me, mate.
I went through a phase like when I was like probably 17, between like 17 to 20 or something like that, like a few years where I just wouldn't watch anything with CG in it. I'd turn a film off if it had CG, and I hated it. Like, and I had to learn to just fucking I had to learn just to not be like that. Otherwise, I'd just be not seeing so many films. And I think for stuff like your Avengers and shit, your Marvel films and your Godzilla and King Kong, yeah, do your CG, do what you need to do. Like, but with Alien, I don't think you need. I mean, if you want CG for where it's running around quick and stuff like that, that's fine. But when you're showing a close up of that alien's face, at no point does it ever need to be CG. And I completely agree that when you already know it's not real. It's not real. We know that xenomorphs do not exist. So watching it, we know it's not real. CG is never gonna look real, no matter what point they take it to. It's never gonna look 100% real because, like you said, the human eye is very hard to fool, and CG in organic form to me never really works that well. If it's like machinery and stuff like that, it's all right, but when it comes to an actual creature, we're always going to know it's CG. So if you can do it practical, do it practical. Do the close-ups practical, and then do the wide where it's running around as CG. I don't ever want to see a fucking CG alien queen like that. Like in Alien and Predators and stuff, we saw when it's running around, we saw a CG queen, but when it's close up, they still had the fucking animatronic puppet. You can't beat something that's really there. And obviously, I'm sure for the actors, it's fucking so much better to be acting with a big fucking realistic puppet than it is a fucking tennis ball on a stick.
Like, think how much shitter Predator would be.
Oh, man,
if it was a CG Predator.
Exactly.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. You can't do that. You can't do it. So
no, man.
Fuck knows, man. I hope that I hope they just sort it, and I hope it's just one shot where we saw a bit of CG and they've still got the practical in there. I think Ridley Scott's been doing this shit for so long that he knows when to use practical. And maybe that trailer is just a bad representation of what the effects of the film are going to look like. But at least as soon as I saw it, I thought, oh, that looks fucking, that don't look all that. But then I thought that might just be my biased opinion because I love practical effects so much. But it seems like it's the talk across the internet that people aren't feeling that fucking all the fucking main podcasters and stuff on YouTube and Screen Junkies and all this stuff, they're all saying like what's with that CG alien and shit. So we'll just have to wait and see. But either way, I'm fucking really looking forward to it, and I'll definitely be there on opening night watching that with my boys.
Yeah, man, I'm definitely gonna check it out as well.
We also had Wrestlemania this week or last week. I said I'd give a quick rundown of that. I was watching. It was this time last week that I watched it, so I just wanted to give a quick rundown on that. And it was a sick event, bro. It felt like Christmas. It always feels like Christmas when it's Mania because it's like one of those days where you just buy a lot of junk food, you sit down and you just stay in front of the telly all day. And I only can never really do that on Christmas because of how busy I am. But I made the point of doing it for Mania, and it was sick, bro. The first match was AJ Styles, who is like pretty much the best all-round wrestler in the fucking world, versus Shane McMahon. And do you know what I love about Shane McMahon? He's not a full-time wrestler. Do you know what I mean? He wrestles because his dad owns the company. I love that Vince wrestles. I love that they don't wrestle full-time. They just wrestle when they wrestle, and they always fucking hold it down, bro. Like most of Shane McMahon's matches have all been stunt matches. The guy's a high flyer. So he did last WrestleMania, I think it was last WrestleMania, he jumped off the top of the cage and did a fucking elbow drop off the top of the cage onto some what was it, an elbow drop or some shit? I can't remember, onto tables and stuff. Like, this guy doesn't have to do that. This guy doesn't even have to wrestle. He can just sit at home counting his fucking dad's money if he wants, but he still chooses to get in the squared circle. And yet he ended it with with some sick stunts, bro. Like, he does like a drop kick landing on his back from one turnbuckle to the other, into a fucking bin into AJ's face, and he does like a sick jumping elbow drop from the turnbuckle onto the commentary table and stuff. Like, he's killing it. And you were saying last week, like, why don't they do like matches where they spend a long time, you know, like preparing them and getting like a real sick choreography going, and they definitely did that for this match. There were loads going on. It were cool as fuck.
Nice.
We also, do you know, in wrestling now, in WWE, I bet when you used to watch it back in the day, like the women's matches were not all that. Like, they did them because, yeah, it's the women's matches, we do that. But these days, bro, the women's matches in WWE to me are more entertaining than the blokes wrestling. And that's not just because I'm being a pervy guy wanting to see girls in hot pants jumping about. Like, they genuinely are fucking sick. Have you heard of Sasha Banks?
No.
It's Snoop Dogg's niece, and she's a wrestler in WWE.
Right.
Snoop Dogg's come out before rapping with her while she does her walk into the ring, but she's fucking bad. She looks cool as fuck. She's got a sick outfit. I always buzz when her music comes on. It's like a fucking cheesy pop track, but I just like that shit when she comes out because it's Sasha Banks' intro. And yeah, so she had a fucking sick match with but there's Charlotte Flair as well. Charlotte Flair, that's Ric Flair's daughter, and she's like doing high flying stunts, bro. She's like doing a fucking moonsault corkscrew off the turnbuckle onto the outside of the ring, landing on people, doing some crazy shit. Yeah, it's just that, and there's one called Naomi in a wrestling match later on, and how she moves is sick. She's obviously done some kind of dance before, and then and mixed that with like high flying wrestling and stuff. Like, the girls are doing like more of the luchery shit, and they just seem to come out with like outfits that are more colourful and outlandish than the guys doing. It reminds me more of the old WWF when we used to watch it when we were younger. So definitely be checking out the girls in WWE.
I do have some footage to show you that may contradict your point. Obviously, I haven't seen these women, so I'm not going to judge the quality. But back in the day, for a while, WWF was acquiring like Japanese talent to appear on some of their shows.
Yeah.
And there was a woman called, I think, Asia Kong or Asia Kong.
Oh
AJA
yeah, she's brutal.
Kong.
She's brutal, bro. I know her. She's brutal.
Right, she was in WWF in like 1995, mate.
Yeah.
Spinning back fisting bitches in the face.
Yo,
and
female Japanese wrestlers are raw, bro. They fucking raw female Japanese wrestlers.
I'm telling you, bro. And then there was another tag team that were in the WWF for a while called the Jumping Bomb Angels.
Right, I don't remember them.
Right, if you these chicks were doing like fucking 360 corkscrew moonsaults back in 1990, mate. So I need to show you them.
Oh yeah. I'm not saying that the girl wrestling was shit back then. You had Lita and stuff. I just mean like in general, if it were like Stephanie McMahon versus Trish Stratus, it weren't gonna be all that.
Yeah, I
get
you.
There was always your high flyers.
There was a period where it was just like glorified fucking, they might as well have been fighting in fucking hot chocolate.
Yeah.
Sort of shit.
But what I'm saying is the girls wrestling now is, to me, a lot of the time is more entertaining than the guys. It reminds me of like the WCW Cruiserweight division, like, because they're just flying all over the fucking place, so it was sick. And then obviously we had Goldberg versus Brock Lesnar, and for me that was the one I was looking forward to the most, just because I'm such a fucking WCW whore, and every time you see Goldberg coming out with the da 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 da, and he's walking to ring with his fucking security guards to protect the crowd from him and shit, and breathing the smoke out, and you know when he does like that, there's like a 3-punch and a kick combo, bam bam bang bang, and the fucking fireworks explode on cue and that. I love that shit. So when you see Goldberg, I was such a fucking WCW fan, bro, back in the day. So just seeing Goldberg in a WWF ring, a WWE ring, whatever, is always going to buzz me out. And the past 3 times he's come into contact with Brock Lesnar, he's just fucking took him out in like a few minutes, just speared him and jackhammered him and stormed out the ring. So it was good to see these two big unstoppable forces go at it. And it was a sick match. Wasn't very long, but he did a spear to Brock Lesnar and smashed through the barrier and stuff. It was bad boy, bro, and Brock Lesnar took the win. I don't know if Goldberg's going to come back now. I think it was
So I was right in my prediction. Yeah, I predicted Brock Lesnar would win that one.
Yeah. You were right, bro. You were right, brother. And I think that, I can't imagine Goldberg's gonna do this shit for much longer. So that might have been his last match. But just yeah, like we said with the Terry Funk thing, a true wrestler will always want to go out on his back. And that brings me to the last match I want to talk about, which everyone knows. It was Undertaker's last ever match ever. And Undertaker is like Mr. WrestleMania. He pretty much headlined every fucking WrestleMania ever. So it's going to be weird from now on that he's not going to be there. But that was his final match, and it was a fucking sick match. And just think how old how long the Undertaker's been doing this shit, bro. Like, even when I was a little fucking tiny kid, I was watching Undertaker and Paul Bearer. Do you know what I mean? So it was cool to see. He was obviously, this is his final match and going out at Mania, and he symbolically, after he'd lost the match, went out on his back like a true wrestler does. He stood up while his music's playing, and he took his gloves off and placed them on the floor, and put his coat on the floor and put his hat on top of it, and then walked off and did like the fucking. I think he held his hand up like Terminator, and then the Terminator 2 and descended into the floor, and everyone, and while his music plays, symbolically just showing that was my final bout at this shit. But hold tight, the Undertaker every time.
Yeah, man.
You know what I mean? He's fucking held it down for many, many years. And like I said on the last podcast, he's a kind of person you don't ever want to see stop doing this. But you have to get to a point when he needs to retire. You know what I mean? He only really wrestles once a year, but still, do you know what I mean? He went out like a fucking G.
Yeah. So, okay. So while we're on the topic, let's throw that punch 2 inches further and connect with a face for a second and round up the UFC from last night.
Well, just before you did that, I just wanted to say one last thing about WWE. What's always a good thing, what's always something to look forward to is the episode of Raw that is just after WrestleMania. So like the next thing you're going to see is WWE Raw, Monday Night Raw. So
like the fallout.
Yeah. So that's when they discuss everything that happened and all this rah. Oh, another thing, the Hardy Boys came back at WrestleMania. That was a fucking cool thing that no one knew about. So there's going to be a ladder match. You know, the fucking, you know, these fucking Hardy Boys love a ladder match. So they was in Ring of Honor the night before. They lost the tag championship at Ring of Honor. They must have flown straight to Orlando and fucking turned up at WrestleMania and did a ladder match and won it. And that was just sick. Again, being an old school fan of wrestling, you hear the and the fucking Hardy Boys were out and the crowd goes mental. And they're doing the fucking swanton bomb and the leg drop and shit, and then won the fucking tag team championship. So that was cool as fuck just to see them come back. So I was on about Monday Night Raw. Now, my favourite wrestler at the minute, and he's been killing it in Japan for a long time, is Shinsuke Nakamura. And this is a guy who's just magnificent to watch. He's like Shawn Michaels meets fucking Michael Jackson, like rolled into Shawn Michaels Jackson. Yo, this guy is cool as fuck. He's the king of strong style, and he's like a guy who was killing it on Japan for years, and he finally come to WWE, and he was in NXT for a long time, which is like their preliminary league where they build up talent. So now on the following Raw, he came to WWE Raw, and he's got one of the sickest entrances ever. So he has this music playing with a dude. He always starts with a dude on a violin. So they introduce that someone's coming into the ring, and then just a ding 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 on a guy playing the violin, and then Shinsuke Nakamura enters, and he's the only guy where every fucking person in the crowd hums his theme tune with him because it's so fucking catchy. And he's one of them. He takes about 20 minutes to get into the ring while he's doing all this mad dancing and moving around, but he's just cool as fuck, man. So I just wanted to say shout out Shinsuke Nakamura because that's my favourite wrestler at the minute, and he finally made it onto Monday Night Raw just following Mania.
Cool.
So we're going to talk about UFC now.
UFC, mate.
We're going to connect the punch. We ain't stamping on the floor and punching with the forearm. Now we're full on smashing motherfuckers square in the face.
Now we're going right through these fools. I only want to talk about 2 fights real quick.
Yeah,
do
it, brother.
I don't want to fucking turn this into the UFC podcast.
No.
Gegard Mousasi was fighting Chris Weidman. Chris Weidman obviously made his name by being the first guy to defeat Anderson Silva in the UFC.
Yeah.
He did it twice, won the middleweight title. And he's taken a couple losses recently. And lost his title, first of all, to Luke Rockhold. And then he took a pretty brutal knockout in his last fight. So this was like his third fight coming off the back of his fight coming off the back of those 2 losses. and he fought Gegard Musashi, who I'm a huge fan of, who's like a Dutch kickboxer slash sambo practitioner kind of guy.
Yeah, yeah.
And I always used to be a fan of Musashi's because he used to train with Fedor back in Pride.
Hold tight Fedor every time.
Yeah, like when Musashi was a little 18, 19-year-old mate, he was training with Fedor, you know what I mean?
Sick.
So I always liked him by that association, so I always checked for him. He even competed in K1, the kickboxing league, as well, and won his fights in that as well.
K1's what I always trained in.
Yeah. K1 is basically the company which encompasses all stand-up martial arts styles.
That's correct.
So it could be like a karate person against a kung fu person, or a boxer against a kickboxer, or whatever the fuck you want. But generally, Dutch Muay Thai dominates. Anyway, so Gegard Musashi was fighting Chris Weidman, and Chris Weidman, man, strikes me like he's a bit broken on some Ronda Rousey shit since his losses.
Yeah.
Because I think in his head, he had this vision of himself like being this undefeated, once in a lifetime, you know, fucking Floyd Mayweather of the sport kind of guy, as Ronda Rousey did. Then when he got a reality check in his first loss, I could tell he wasn't going to handle it well because he had so many excuses, you know, left, right and centre. This wasn't right, that wasn't right, it'll never happen like that again, it was luck, blah, blah, blah. And then in his very next fight, he gets sparked again. Then I watched an interview before this fight, and he was like, "Yo, I almost moved out of the house back into my mum's basement, away from my wife and children, just because I thought maybe that's what was needed in that." And see that, to me, that's a guy that's like pointing a finger a lot. Like, oh, if it wasn't for this, I would have won. If it wasn't for that, I would have won. If it wasn't for these distractions, I would have won. And obviously, that's partly to do with the ego that having a bulletproof confidence gives you. But if you can't be self-aware enough to truly assess yourself, see where you're at and what the fuck you need to do, then it's a problem. And on top of that, your family, friends, and regular training partners are the people you should want around you all the time. If they're the ones you're starting to point the fingers at, it's a serious problem.
Yeah.
So, in this fight, they've just recently changed the rules. Because there used to be a rule, right? Say two fighters are getting up and one fighter gets the other in a headlock. If the other fighter puts both his palms on the mat, it's then illegal for the guy who's got him in a headlock to knee him in the head. And if you think about it, it's such a get out of getting kneed in the head. It's like a pussy move, really. It's not really fighting. It's using the rules of the sport to your advantage to make sure you don't get kneed, right? So I'm pleased they changed that. And in the fight, Gegard Musashi got Chris Weidman in a front face lock, and Chris Weidman went to put his hands on the mat. Now they've changed it to where if it's only one hand on the mat, it's legal now. So Gegard Musashi timed it, and when he saw just one hand touching the mat, kneed his fucking face twice. And Chris Weidman was all busted up and out of it. At first, the referee called it for being an illegal strike. Chris Weidman got 5 minutes to recover. And then they watched the replay, deemed it legal, and Gegard Musashi was awarded the TKO victory. So it was a mad, fucking weird finish. But to be honest, I'm with Gegard Musashi on this one. If Chris Weidman wants to not fight and play toward and think about the rules of the contest before it being an actual fight and try to put his palms on the mat to play towards the rules to not get hit, then fuck it. You know, it was a legal strike and he deserved it. Then in the main event, the light heavyweight champion Daniel Cormier defended his light heavyweight championship against Anthony Rumble Johnston. This was a fight lots of people were looking forward to. Obviously, John Jones is still on the sidelines, banned again.
Yeah.
Old waste man Jones just can't get his shit together. So these two were fighting in his absence, and Daniel Cormier said something very fucking telling before the fight. He said, Anthony Rumble Johnson has a real bad habit of getting tired, getting into a position where he's on his back on the ground, and then rolling onto his stomach to give up the choke. He always loses like that. Daniel Cormier said that before the fight, and he said when a person always loses like that, there's something to it. It's like he's looking for a way out, you know. He doesn't want to get punched in the face, so he just rolls onto his stomach like, go on, choke me.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And yeah, in the fight, Daniel Cormier was prophetic in what happened because he started to put pressure on Rumble on the ground, and Rumble, true to DC's prediction, rolled onto his belly and gave him his neck, man. So, yeah, Daniel Cormier showed he's definitely at least the number 2 light heavyweight in the world. We'll have to see if he's 1 or 2 for when John Jones comes back. But yeah, unfortunately, DC knew what Rumble was going to do. And yeah, Rumble did it. And after the fight, Rumble retired, which is a bigger shame because even though Rumble never won the belt, he's one of the most exciting fighters in the entire UFC to watch. His highlight reel was just a brutal montage of fucking absolute destruction. I recommend anybody who's a fight fan, or even if you're not, type in Anthony Rumble Johnston highlights on YouTube and just fucking enjoy the shit canning of human brains you get to see. Those are the only 2 fights I wanted to talk about with the UFC main event. And also one extra topic. At the weigh-in, right? So you have to weigh 205. That's the limit for light heavyweight. And Daniel Cormier gets on the scales, and he weighs 206. So he gets off the scales and he takes off his trunks, so they have to hold up like a vanity towel. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he can get on the scales naked. And he puts his hands on the towel, and his 2 friends holding the towel for him are holding it tight. So he actually displaced his weight slightly onto the towel to make the 205-pound weight limit.
No
So
way.
there's a lot of controversy about the weigh-in before it because Daniel Cormier was clearly leaning on the towel to displace his weight slightly.
And he'll just fucking whack his fucking old man out and put it on it, or what? How do you hang your weight on a towel?
No, because, right, imagine, so there's a guy at either side, like holding the towel so the crowd can't see his dick, right?
Yeah.
And they're holding it tightly. So he puts his hands on the top of the towel and sort of leans onto it slightly, and you can see his hands pushing down on the towel. So it, like, displaces the weight just enough.
Right.
For that pound to drop. You'll see it. If you watch the video on YouTube, you'll see what I mean. But there's a lot of controversy about how he made the weight. But, yeah, when he made the weight, it was a dominant performance by him. And I'm looking forward to seeing him versus John Jones when John Jones finally gets his fucking shit together.
Definitely. Well, segueing straight, let's keep the fighting talk going.
Yeah.
Because, like I said earlier, the Thor Ragnarok trailer dropped today. And as most people will know by now, there's going to be an epic fight during this fucking film. And that's going to be Hulk versus Thor in a gladiatorial arena. Planet Hulk style. So I want to talk a little bit about the Thor Ragnarok trailer. That dropped today.
So fill me in on Ragnarok, because I don't know much about the fucking Ragnarok universe.
Okay,
mate.
well, if you know anything about like mythology and Greek gods and Norse gods and stuff, Ragnarok is the apocalypse of Asgard. That's what Ragnarok is. So we have an apocalypse, they have a Ragnarok. So the thing what's crazy about this film is that it's kind of mixing a few different comics together. So straight away you've got in the end of the last Avengers film, Thor goes back to Asgard. He goes and does his thing. Oh, we believe he's missing. He's flying off. He's missing. And in Captain America: Civil War that follows on from Thor Ragnarok, we find out that Thor's not been seen. One of the reasons that they want to bring in these accords I told you about the last time, where they want to bring in this rule that it's like if you're a superhero you've got to register. They're like 2 of the most powerful beings currently in our fucking world, Thor and Hulk. Where are they? I don't fucking know. Where are they? Do you know where they are? And the Avengers don't know where they are. So what you've got is you've got Thor returning to Asgard, and something must kick off because we've got Cate Blanchett playing Hela, who's a Marvel character. And you ain't even gonna lie, Cate Blanchett looks hot as Hela. She's looking sick, bro. So, like, she's going to be the new bad guy. And I've heard that she's going to be, like, the herald of Thanos going into Infinity Wars. But that's a whole other fucking subject. So you've got Thor throwing his fucking hammer at Hela. Hela catching it, which is impossible anyway, because you're not allowed to pick Thor's hammer up unless you're worthy. So no one else can pick that hammer up except for Thor. Or unless you're like a machine, do you know, like the Vision or something, where you're like actual artificial, you're not really a person with a soul. So you can't pick up Thor's hammer. He throws his fucking hammer at Hela. She catches it and fucking just squeezes it and explodes it in front of him, sending a massive shockwave. This is like the first few seconds of the trailer. So you're like, what the fuck, bro? Like, this is some powerful bitch. Do you know what I mean? She's just fucking destroyed Monia. And then you see her taking over Asgard, just fucking
yeah.
flooding all the streets with fire and shit. Thor must obviously get banished from fucking Asgard, or he gets fired off off that world and sent into some mad junk planet. So he lands in this mad, crazy Star Wars looking like junk planet, not like in Transformers where the Junkions live, like some fucking scrap planet of fucking like the garbage fucking disposal unit of the cosmos. So he lands there and straight away gets captured by all these mad like junk people and thrown into a gladiatorial arena that's run by the fucking homie. Well, he's not my homie, but he's the guy. Jeff Goldblum, he's there. He's the guy running all the fucking running these gladiatorial fights, and they've so now Thor's got no hammer. They've shaved all his fucking hair off. They've given him new weapons and shit, and they're making him fight in this gladiatorial arena. And then you see the Hulk fucking blast out of the gates. So that's going to be cool as fuck, because what this alludes to is there's a comic called Planet Hulk, right? Now, in the comic Planet Hulk, there's actually an animated movie that you can watch of it that's cool as fuck, like if you can't be arsed reading comics and stuff. But in the Marvel Universe, there's a collective called the Illuminati. This is like the best brains in the world in the Marvel Universe. So you've got like Professor X, you've got Doctor Strange, you've got Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic, and Tony Stark. Do you know the dudes that are just like the cleverest motherfuckers on the planet? And they gather... Together, they decide in the comics that that Hulk is such a fucking destructive force that he can't be on Earth. He's not safe to have him on Earth. So, humanely, they capture him and send him off into space. Because they said he only ever wanted to be left alone anyway. We'll send him off into space. That's what he always wanted. Against his will, obviously, but we're sending him off to a planet. Now, he lands on a planet called Sakaar. And he's automatically put into like some gladiatorial arena, but he holds it down. He's the fucking Hulk. What's fucking with the Hulk hand to hand? Nothing. So he along with like another group of people that have been captured and thrown into the arena, like he protects them. He's blood bound or brother bound or something he calls them. I can't remember. And he eventually wins so many of these gladiatorial battles that he becomes the fucking king of the planet. And he meets a wife. By this point, he's been Hulk for so long that Banner's intelligence kind of taken over, so he can talk normal now. He's got the strength of Hulk, but he's got the brain of Banner. So on this planet, years and years go by, and he gets a wife. He becomes the king of the planet. He gets a whole army that follow him, and he has a kid. And then what happens is, so that's Planet Hulk. Now, there's another comic after that called World War Hulk, and if they did this film, it'd be the fucking most epic Marvel movie ever. But basically, on the planet that he's on, the ship that he was sent to the planet with, explodes and it kills half the people on the planet, including his wife and his kid. So Hulk gathers his fucking army and he goes back to Earth to wage war on all the heroes of Earth. But he's like, you sent me to a fucking planet on a ship that's exploded, killed all my fucking family and half of my planet, and now I'm coming to wage war on you cunts. So he basically, one of the most powerful fucking characters in Marvel is a dude called Black Bolt. He's part of the Inhumans. Marvel are going to be doing a TV series of him. They're filming it at the minute. But Black Bolt is so powerful that he can't even speak because his voice is so powerful. It destroys things. So the first thing that you see when Hulk lands on Earth is that he's gone to the moon. I think it's the moon. He's got Black Bolt, pretty much killed him, held him up lifeless on a projector, and he's like, this is what I've done to your most powerful fucking hero, and I'm coming to New York to take you all on. So whoever's in New York when I come down is getting fucked up. Whether you're a civilian or a hero, you've got like a 24-hour warning. Leave the fucking city, and if you're a hero, I want your fucking ass in New York, and we're fucking having it. So he takes all his bloodbound to Earth, and they just have the sick, and it spans over a few comics, but they just have the sickest fucking war. He walks through the X-Men mansion and just fucking trashes every cunt in it. Wolverine jumps out and he's like, let's face it, Bob, it always comes down to me and you anyway, so let's just fucking do this. He just destroys everyone, bro. He don't kill him, obviously, but he smashes fuck out of them all. She-Hulk's there like, look, I'm your cousin, I don't want to fight you. Bang, just blasts her in head. He's like, I don't give a fuck, I'm taking out every Marvel. Iron Man's there in his Hulkbuster armor. He takes out Iron Man. There's an animated comic that someone's made on YouTube that you can watch, and it's cool as fuck. And he basically does a like panel to panel with sound effects and voiceovers and stuff of Hulk just taking out the whole Marvel universe. So imagine that, like if they do this film and then they somehow turn it into Planet Hulk later on. That's bigger than Infinity Wars. That's bigger than Thanos coming back. That's like some fucking Fast and the Furious 8 shit where they've all got to take on Dominic Toretto. Like, so I just wanted to just mention those comics, but that's effectively why we're seeing Hulk in gladiatorial armor in a fighting pit, because they're just giving like a nod to Planet Hulk. Now, what I've heard in this film Thor Ragnarok is that once Hulk and Thor have this fight, then whatever, they break out of that planet, and it's like a road movie of those two like trying to make it back home. So that's cool as fuck. That's cool as fuck. I'm just looking forward to it, bro. I buzz off this shit so much. You can hear when I talk about it. This shit's fucking been such a big part of my life for all my life. I love this Marvel shit.
No doubt, man. I saw the trailer myself. It looks cool.
I saw a funny thing. Madness wrote it, but he did say that it wasn't his joke. But he said he just wrote as Guardians of the Galaxy, because they've definitely took that Guardians of the Galaxy flavour, very colourful 80s neon, using fucking 80s music and shit. But that's fine. That's fine. The last Thor movie didn't do very well. A lot of people didn't like it. I didn't mind it, but a lot of people didn't like it. So I think that they've obviously gone into a different direction with this one, and it completely fucking works. It's got.
Yeah, that whole that's that.
Yeah, but like
swagger.
done well and done like Guardians of the Galaxy killed it. And the thing is, like, everyone was so fucking hyped for Guardians of the Galaxy, and now this film's come out, and I'm just like, oh, I just want to see fucking Thor Ragnarok. There's a funny thing, right, that and Kevin Smith pointed this out quite a lot. That every time DC like put something out trying to build their universe, Marvel just shits on them. So like last week they were like, oh, there we go, Justice League. So Marvel's like, Justice what? Spider-Man Homecoming. And then they're like, so then DC have now making a Batgirl movie, and they've got Josh Whedon to direct it. Now, Josh Whedon is like one of the architects of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. He's the guy who made Avengers and Age of Ultron. So he is the guy who sculpted what it is now. Do you know, bringing all the characters together into one movie to make the Avengers. He's the architect of that shit. So DC are like, oh, we see your Homecoming, we'll take fucking Josh Whedon. And they're like, Josh Whedon, we'll raise you a Thor Ragnarok trailer. And it's just like every time DC try and like say, look what we're doing, Marvel's just like, boom, this is what we're fucking doing. You're making a Batgirl movie. We've got fucking Thor fighting Hulk in a gladiatorial arena, and that's only the first half of the film. Fuck off. Marvel are fucking ruthless, mate. But I love this shit, so I'm with them all day.
I swear that's got to be one of the oldest beefs in media. DC and Marvel, man. They've been at each other's necks for like.
Check this. There was a time in the like late 80s, early 90s, I think it was, where comics were like doing so shit and was such a non-profitable industry that there was talks of Stan Lee buying up DC as well. Like buying DC, so in an alternate universe, right now, Marvel and DC are both owned by the same company. How crazy is that? Imagine that nowadays. Like if at the time, Marvel had bought DC, like WWF bought WCW and ECW, like they were rivals and they just bought them out. That could have effectively been what happened to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And it's an old beef, but like nowadays, like it's just. Why are you going to fuck with Marvel, bro? They can't do wrong. If they do one film that's not that good, they just bring out another film 5 months later that's fucking incredible. This is the thing, like, they're bringing out, like, 2-3 films a year and the sickest Netflix series as well. Like, they can't do wrong. This fucking beast that they've created is going to be smashing through whatever it's fucking coming up against for a lot longer. A long time yet, and I can't wait. That's why I'm glad that I'm such a big fan of this stuff, and that they're doing it right, because they could be like the Transformers movies. That means Transformers, the cartoon and the comics and stuff, means so much to me, and the films are such a fucking letdown. They're so unfaithful to the source material. So I'm so happy that the Marvel Disney crew actually do it properly, do it right.
Fucking meant to that. All right, let me drop my fucking film recommendation of the week quick on you.
Do that, brother.
Alright, so I'm keeping with a compendium feel this week.
Right.
And I want to pick my favourite Creepshow movie. Now,
okay.
This might be sacrilegious, and I don't know why this is, but me personally, my favourite one is Creepshow 2.
You're a Chief Woodenhead fan.
Mate, it's just those 3 stories, like, okay, so let me break them down. The first story is probably my least favourite.
Woodenhead.
But it's still Yeah, it's still an interesting concept, though. It's about a old husband and wife own a convenience store, and they have a wooden statue of a Native American chief outside. And the shop gets robbed, they get murdered, and then the wooden chief comes to fucking life to avenge their deaths and goes after the robbers. And it's an interesting one, but it's the second two that I really like for some reason. Even though the second one, like, I've shown people it and I'm like, isn't this sick? And they're like, nah, this is shit. But for some reason I really like it, mate. It's called The Raft, and it's just your typical fucking bunch of goofy teens going skinny dipping in a lake, and then there's like what looks like a fucking sheet of frog spawn that's moving towards them in the water. And like they start getting paranoid about it, and one thing leads to another, and yeah, this thing gets them basically. And it's such a simple concept, but I think it's done really well. And then the third segment, my favourite segment.
Thanks for the ride, baby. Thanks for the ride.
Thanks for the ride, lady. Is called The Hitchhiker.
Yeah.
And there's a woman out seeing a gigolo getting her beat on behind her husband's back. Shame on you, bitch. And so she's been out getting pumped all night for some paying her dollar up. And then she's driving home, and there's a guy in a raincoat hitchhiking, and she hits him. And she fucking hit and runs him and drives away. But then, just like in the old Twilight Zone episode of the same name, she sees him at the side of the road later on, and he's got his injuries from the first time she hit him. And then before you know it, he's fucking haunting this bitch everywhere she's driving. And a lot of crazy things transpire, and I don't want to spoil the ending or nothing in case you haven't seen it. But yeah, my film recommendation of the week, it's written by George A. Romero, based on stories by Stephen King. So,
With
Tom
Savini in there. I know he doesn't do the effects for the second film. He did them for the first one, but he plays the creeper person. Do you know, like the
yeah, he does. The guy that throws the magazine at the start.
Yeah, he does. And I tell you a fucking funny story about Creepshow 2. Anyone that's ever seen me like over the years doing my thing, I'm often with my boy Dale, who's like a 7-foot fucking roadman monster. This guy's a this guy's a dude. Do you know what I mean? He's a.
You're bringing Dale to the Serious Jones battle?
No, I'm not.
Mate, anyone that's above 6'8", get them along, man. I'm wanting some proper big fucking lurch-looking motherfuckers standing behind me, just to let these people know we got them ogres on call.
That's it. Well, Dale's one of my main fucking big bad boy enforcers, right?
I know Dale.
Yeah, we've been fucking boys for fucking years. He's family to me. He's a brother. I don't even call him a friend. He's a brother. He lived at my house many years and shit. Like, he's my guy. Anyway. He's staying at my house, and we've watched Creepshow 2, and I've gone to bed, he's downstairs sleeping on the settee and shit, and I've woke up about 4 in the morning, and I can just hear, screaming. Nah, you hear a 7-foot, 28-year-old man screaming. You're like, yo, what the fuck's going on? So I've come downstairs, and Dale's just there like, and then goes back to sleep, and I'm just like, what the fuck was he dreaming about? Anyway, next day I've said to him, Dale, what you were fucking screaming last night, you daft cunt, what you on about? And he's like, yo, fucking, I had a dream about that blob trying to get me from Creepshow Raw.
What, from the raft?
Yeah, the black blob from the raft, like that fucking tar sludge, oil-looking fucking blob thing on the water. And he's fucking had a dream about that. He's like, yo, you were trying to get me, brother, and I'm just there screaming and that. Like, so this is a film that has got them fucking 7-foot roadman shook. Do you know what I'm saying? Mate, so definitely make sure you watch Creepshow 2. And I love that fucking Chief Woodenhead statue. I actually watched recently, funnily enough, a lot of the behind-the-scenes shit from Creepshow. If you look on YouTube, there's a lot of behind-the-scenes shit.
Cool. I tell you what, I'm itching to find. I don't even know if anyone out there can help me. Actually, for years, I've wanted to sample the fucking music behind the Hitchhiker episode segment in that film.
All right.
And I've only ever been able to find it with the fucking audio track from the film laced on it. Never been able to find the music independently. So if anyone out there can find me the music score to the Hitchhiker scene, I want to give all that brass to a hip hop producer, they'll be able to make some sick beat for me to fucking kill it. If you listen to the music in the background of the Hitchhiker segment, and imagine that getting chopped up into a hip hop beat, it's fucking some banging shit, mate.
Yeah.
So,
To be honest, I've got quite a few hookups in the soundtrack department, so I might be able to help you out. But until then, see if you can help BA find the fucking soundtrack to Creepshow 2, the
I need
Hitchhiker
that
segment.
Creepshow 2 without the fucking audio, if it exists, if there is such a fucking thing out there.
Yeah, definitely. While we're talking about some sick shit, let's talk about this thing that I keep seeing on Facebook, and I've done a little bit of looking into it. But apparently, this year, one surgeon, and he's got to be one of the best surgeons in the fucking world to think that he could pull this off. He's gonna do the first ever human head transplant. Have you heard about this?
Yeah, I have. But I do find it interesting that you're coming with a science this week.
Well, this is not even really science. This is not no Illuminati fucking conspiracy theory. This shit's actually going down, and he was actually at Glasgow last week talking about this.
Hey! What the fuck do you mean by that?
Well, you often come with that conspiracy stuff, don't you? Where it's like there's a conspiracy that there's this thing going to happen, and it's interesting theory. But this isn't even a theory, is it? This is a dude that's actually going to fucking perform this now.
Yeah.
So if this is possible, how come like someone can have a car crash and fucking sever a nerve and then never be able to walk again? Like effectively, if you can do a whole human head transplant, then that shit is fucking minor. And is this going to be a human head transplant for a dude that can actually walk around and function and go for a piss and fucking make love like a normal human being? Or is this someone that's going to be a vegetable in a wheelchair that happens to be alive because they've got a fucking human head transplant? Because that's like some Futurama shit when they've got all the heads in fucking tanks waiting to do some shit with them. Like I don't know how it's going to work. I just wanted to have a quick discussion about it because I don't know how
it
this
makes
is gonna
my
work.
theoretical brain, like, I go past like the actual how the procedure's gonna work, and I start theorizing of what this will lead to.
Yeah.
And obviously money rules the world, mate.
Yeah.
And you know these stories where you get like Japanese kids that create a World of Warcraft account and level it up and then sell it. So they'll right?
Yeah.
So imagine in the future there'll be like billionaires buying some Olympian body, like Olympic body, trained every day till age 19, $5 million. And the rich old billionaire will just be like, I'll take that. That looks like a pristine engine for my fucking old wrinkly head to sit on for a few years. You know what I mean? It'll fucking end up becoming a financial thing, man. There'll be poor people selling their fucking torsos and living their lives in jars, like heads in jars. Like, yeah, I made $5 million selling my athletic body to that old billionaire.
Yeah, exactly. And it's weird, like they've actually developed virtual reality software so people can have a simulation of what it's going to be like operating their new body.
Craziness.
Now, there's something else that's along the lines of this, and I'm not going to say this guy's name, but like I know his family personally, and this is a dude who is the first person in Europe from Sheffield, and he's actually had his body. He recently passed, and he's had his body cryogenically frozen, and it's so many £1,000s a year to keep your body in some kind of cryostasis, like some fucking Demolition Man shit. And this is something that exists around the world, but he's just the first person in Britain or Europe or whatever. I don't know. I don't even know if we're part of Europe anymore. I fucking don't pay attention to that shit. But he's the first person this side of the water to actually have this put into motion. So he didn't have a funeral, he just had a memorial service, like a memorial party, and now his body's fucking cryogenically frozen, bro. So in the hopes that one day they can transfer his brain into a new body. Like, this is the fucking world we're living in now. This is some Demolition Man shit. It's crazy, bro, that this shit's a thing now.
Absolutely crazy. Okay, while we're on the topic of this shit, this ain't a conspiracy, right? So there's a leading, like, fucking, I don't know what you call them. You know how a lot of scientists get their funding through unis? So, like, a lot of top universities are actually the leading researchers in specific fields.
Yeah.
So there's a university professor that's working on implants that specifically affect the brain. So, things that directly affect your brain functions. And what he is working on is a chip that can send information directly between one person's head to another and he is going to be the first test subject along with another professor. But think how crazy this is. So he says this technology could be used to turn a sect of human beings into a hive mind, like ants.
Right.
So they're no longer right, but it could be used in good and bad ways, because you could, for instance, put them chips in a construction team, and they would no longer need to cooperate with one another. They would just be all working as a larger entity.
Yeah.
Toward the same goal simultaneously. The negative side of this is you could put that technology in your soldiers, and they no longer care about their life.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. It's that Ghost in the Shell shit, bro. Like you've got like a hive brain operating a ton of fucking drones.
Yeah, so yeah, but this is real shit, man. There's a university professor that says he's going to spearhead being the guinea pig with another professor from another uni, and it's the first chip which is going to lead towards the capability of turning a set of human beings with these implants into a single-minded unison of individuals, which is a crazy thought, but that is coming. So, yeah, fucking wrap your head around that shit.
It's a crazy... I mean, I don't even understand 3D fucking printing, bro, and how that's possible. But this shit is like, and you can go into Asda now and have a fucking model of yourself 3D printed, pretty much while you wait. You can be scanned and then come back the next day and pick up a fucking 3D printed model of yourself. Have you seen this shit? Like,
I have
this
not,
is
but that's
crazy.
fucking crazy.
So I mean, but like the fact that now, well, just talking a little bit about like Thor's helmet, for example, in Marvel, is no longer a piece that's sculpted by an artist. It's a 3D digital artist creates that thing on a computer and prints it out digitally, and I think that's cool and it makes sense. And I saw something before where people who design armor and stuff for films, and it's like it's so hard creating something that not only looks fucking bad boy on the outside but also is wearable, and because a lot of like the old, I mean, I've my friend, he worked on the Judge Dredd movie, the Stallone one, and he's got some Lonsdale, shouts to Lonsdale, and he's got one of Judge Dredd's helmets in his fucking house. And on the outside, it looks fucking crisp, but on the inside, you can see where the fiberglass is all laid and stuff. Whereas now you can print screen that shit off, and it's perfect inside and outside because it's all developed digitally and then printed off, so it's completely mirrored perfect and things. And I think for that shit, like that. I don't think that's taking work away from a sculptor. I think that's like just another sick tool under your belt that you can be using to produce this stuff. So I mean, effectively, like, well, it's not even effectively now. Like, people have like 3D printed bones and stuff, don't they? Like, they have like, if like you got your jaw broke, they can 3D print part of your jaw and shit.
Yeah, like there was a guy that revolutionized in the last few years. I believe it was a student revolutionized plaster casts, because you know how people used to get, the plaster cast.
Yeah.
There's a new thing where you get your hands scanned and then they like 3D print a cast for you. It's sick, mate. Like, there's so many ways. Like, did I tell you about the houses?
Yeah, I've seen them. They're like Lego bricks, aren't they? They're like big stickle brick fucking things, big like play blocks that you can put a house together in. Like, do they 3D print the blocks or they 3D print the whole house? I've seen the two different ones.
No, the one I saw wasn't even in blocks, mate. Check this. So they just clear a flat surface and set this giant ass machine down.
Yeah.
And it just prints the whole thing sitting where it fucking is.
Oh, they're like round, aren't they? They're not like a square house. They're like round and shit. You can have any shape you want, really. Yeah,
they're round. But yeah, it can print the entire house in 24 hours. So
imagine. So
we were talking about robots taking jobs last week. Yeah. Goodbye, all them manual labourers, mate. Because in the future they're just gonna have drones dropping off them printers, printing the houses, and then picking the fucking printers back up in the drones. Like,
well, there's something very cool that you told me before, and I'd like you to repeat it if you can, or if you can even remember telling me. And it was about the alpha and the omega thing, where you get dudes that are like your alphas, and you get your dudes that are your omegas, and like how geeks and Critical told me something very similar, but you told me one. Oh man, I've just completely gone off subject. Basically, you told me something, and Critical told me something that was similar, and I've got them mixed up. But what Critical told me is that nowadays, like back in the day, the jock would bully the geek. That's like that's the way it was. The jock could bully the geek. The big hard guy could bully the little geeky guy. But nowadays, in the world of technology and the internet, the geeky guy can make a fake profile of you, Photoshop your head shagging a fucking dog and make it look real and make it go viral. Nowadays, the geek is the person that's in charge. Nowadays, in the future, it will become to a point that the guy that can lay bricks hasn't got a job because the dude that's a geek can build a robot that fucking lays bricks for him and punches the geek in the fucking face. Like, it's crazy now that's the way things are going.
Very true, mate. Like that old, I'm still conflicted about this whole the pen is mightier than the sword. But definitely technology rules the future. So I don't want to pigeonhole though, because that's only if you associate being an alpha with a lack of intelligence. And I know bare alphas who are just as intelligent as they are fucking alphas. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, so what I wanted you to repeat what you told me before is the theory that it's not even a theory, it's actual fact that you get your alpha and your omega, but then every now and again you get a dude that's alpha and omega, and that's the dude you want to be scared of.
Yeah, well, exactly, because the traditional phrase "the pen is mightier than the sword" is a phrase that by nature of it is pigeonholing people into two groups. You're either a big dumbass Hulk or you're a little feeble super genius. The real world doesn't work like that. There's a million variables, and I think that, the reason why I gravitated towards battle rap and kickboxing is because I valued both the pen and the sword. I think it's good to be able to defend yourself mentally and physically. For every situation where you can just sign off on a piece of paper to drop 1 billion bombs in a country, there's another situation where you're walking down the wrong alleyway at the wrong time, and if you don't know how to protect yourself in the most fucking primitive level, you're dead. So people can sit there and think, oh, there's no need for barbarism in this day and age, but I think every now and again, man, an alpha will do some alpha shit, even in the age of technology, that can't be stopped. Having said that, yeah, generally nowadays it is the pen is mightier than the sword, but the true alpha is the person that understands and knows how to use both, in my opinion.
Yeah. It's just that we live in a world now where it's the geek that can fuck your life up. It goes back to the whole thing, the hacker that can take all the money out of your bank account and put it into and send it to the fucking most ridiculous charity in the world. Like that's a thing now.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of if you take it one step further, I guess it's not even the geeks are going to take over the world, because as soon as robots get any sort of self-awareness, they're taking all of our cancer-like fucking species.
Oh, there's always a bigger fish, and in our situation, it's probably going to be a big fucking robotic one.
So the pen and the sword are both flawed, and logic conquers all. And one day, the complete cold-hearted logic of the robots will fucking show us that. So yeah, don't favour the pen or the sword. Get down with the artificial intelligence, which is going to enslave us.
Yeah, no, it's the Frankenstein thing, isn't it? Being killed by your own creation. It's Tony Stark and Ultron. Well, it's actually Scott Lang / Henry Pym and Ultron in the comics, but in the MCU verse, yeah, it's the Tony Stark and Ultron kind of thing.
So what we got up next? What else do you want to discuss, my friend?
I think that might be it for this week. And
Fuck
obviously,
no.
Yeah, I think it might be, bro.
Fuck no. Right, okay.
Have you got something? I've got nothing else. I've got nothing. As you can see, I've got nothing here written down that I wanted to discuss.
People.
And
this guy.
And we've gone through a lot of the discussion topics. So yeah, man, if you want to round it up on the last subject, if you've got something else you want to chat about before we wrap this thing up, we've got to get supplies, bro. It's getting dark.
I feel you. All right, cool. Well, yeah, just real quick then, I've got a little fight for the week recommendation.
Oh yes, and your new thing you want to shout out, fight of the week.
Yeah, fight of the week.
So this is a new segment we wanted to look into where it could be a fight that happened last week, it could be a fight that happened 20 years ago, but we're going to be reviewing a fight of the week. So what we got, brother?
Well, what we have is, obviously, nowadays, everybody and their grandmother know who the fuck the Diaz brothers are because of the Conor McGregor fight. I've been a Diaz brothers fan from day dot. And the one fight that made Nick Diaz one of my favourite fighters of all time, and to this day is my single favourite fight of all time, is Nick Diaz versus Takanori Gomi at Pride. I believe it's either Pride 32 or Pride 33,
Shouts
but I
to
might
Pride
be fucking
every
wrong.
time.
It's one of the 30s. You know me, I like to keep it real, But part of that is I don't like to cheat and research while I'm talking about it. So
Yeah.
I may be wrong, but I'm holding my hands up and saying if that's my memory fucking up, so be it. What made this fight so great is Takanori Gomi, also known as the Fireball Kid, was an absolute bad man in Pride. He was their lightweight champion. Pride had this subsidiary event called Bushido, and Takanori Gomi was essentially the superstar of Bushido, right?
Yeah.
And so he was famous for doing a boxing style called Shaolin boxing, and he also came from
sick.
And he also came from a background of baseball, which is strangely like huge in Japan, almost as big as it is in America. And so he had a whizzer of a right hand, like a baseball throw right hand, yeah. So he had some great hands, bro. So anyways, and Nick Diaz has got one of my favourite boxing styles ever. It's a really low KO percentage, but a really high volume and a really high connectivity rate, which just makes it so exciting to watch, because every few seconds Diaz is just like pop, 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 bang, pop, 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 bang, you know, with no rest. Because they're cardio monsters. I don't know if you know this about the Diaz brothers, but they're triathletes. They don't have an off season.
They are.
Yeah, like all they do in their spare time is bicycling, swimming. Their cardio is through the roof. If you think their black belts are sick at jiu-jitsu, you should see their black belts in cardiovascular conditioning. And that's a very important black belt to have in a real fight. So Nick Diaz and Gomi put on such a great stand-up display. Nick Diaz is peppering him about. At one point, Gomi drops him with a vicious fucking right hand that splits Diaz's cheek right open like a huge cut along his cheek line.
Grim.
And then in classic Diaz brothers fight style, I mean the same thing happened in Conor McGregor's fight. It's what the Diaz brothers do. If you don't put them away early or take them to the ground and stand with them, sooner or later, their tempo will start to make you decline. They just start to overwhelm you, and then before you know it, you're like, fucking, you can't even think, because every time if you want to see how confusing you can become in a fight when you're tired, watch Nick Diaz versus BJ Penn. BJ Penn is trying to think, trying to breathe, and in those moments, imagine in the moments you're trying to think and breathe, just another pop, 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 pop. There's no second in between it to breathe or think. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it just becomes an incredibly overwhelming, confusing situation where you're exhausted, you're getting your head rattled about, you don't have a second to think. It's a terrifying feeling to be in a fight and be tired. And Gomi starts to well under that Nick Diaz pressure, and before you know it, Diaz is just teeing off them pop, pop, pop combos. And on top of that, Gomi goes to take him down, and Diaz puts him in the go-go platter choke, one of the rarest finishes you can find in MMA. I believe there's only like 10 ever, probably only about 3 ever in big organizations. And it's a choke where it's hard to explain, but you're essentially putting the bone of your shin underneath their throat, then pulling their head down onto your shin bone as you push it into their throat. It's a brutal, brutal shin bone choke. In fact, it was stolen by The Undertaker in the WWF. He calls it Hell's Gate. So if you know that move from WWF, that is the go-go platter. Submission choking.
I get Slacky's character in Unit 11. I don't want to give too much away about the movie, but in the fight scene, I get him in the go-go platter.
Oh, see, right, okay, so you know the script.
Well, a lot of that, because a lot of that ground and pound stuff, it were directed by the fight of when it were like ground and pound stuff, were directed by Darren, one of the Chef Spendables, who's an MMA trainer. So that's why we chucked that in there.
Sick. Yeah. So that fight ends in a go-go platter submission and has such great stand-up, back and forth action. To this day, it's my favourite fight of all time. Just watching Diaz pop Gomi about when he starts to get tired and rattle him about with them beautiful light cardio boxing combos he does. It's a fucking thing of beauty to me, mate. There's one part, where he hits him with like a fucking 5-6-3-4 or whatever. Uppercut, hook. You know, Pop,
Yeah.
pop, 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 all landed. Oh, it's so fucking beautiful. Like, so
Sick.
yeah, my fight recommendation of the week is Nick Diaz versus the Fireball Kid, Takanori Gomi. Hold tight to Diaz Brothers 209 Stockton. Shout out to Awkwards while I'm on the fucking topic. Fuck it.
Yeah, Awkwards is looking at getting them on his podcast, or at least getting Nick on the podcast, because they've got a mutual friend or something like that. So I hope that happens. And it's something that they're a big advocate of now. They're like openly smoking weed and stuff, aren't they? So these are just guys that fight, train, and then smoke weed. Like these are guys after your own heart, bro.
Telling you, mate. And the fucking. Have you seen them on the nunchucks?
Are they sick on the nunchucks as well?
The nunchuckers as well, mate. They're like our boys, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, obviously, like, it's I mean, I don't smoke weed myself. I've never even tried it, but it kind of shows that it doesn't matter. If you smoke that shit and you do it, you do it sensibly, you can still be a fucking killer and do triathlons and shit.
Exactly. What makes it so impressive about them is, like, they are known for having unquestionably, not even close, the best cardio in MMA.
Yeah.
Anyone else who was put in the same comparison with them has eventually looked tired in a fight, perhaps aside from Michael Bisping.
Yeah.
I'd maybe put Michael Bisping just below them. But all the other guys, Cain Velasquez, he looked so tired against Fabrizio Verdum. I've never seen a Diaz brother look tired, mate. Them motherfuckers can fight all day, and they actually fight, and they come to fuck you up. Yeah, such great fighters. So yeah, check it out. Nick Diaz versus Takanori Gomi. And
I fucking love the Diaz brothers. And if you've got the UFC Fight Pass now, Pride's owned by UFC, isn't it? So all those fights are on there.
Yeah, that's right. You can find them all in the UFC Fight Pass. And like anyone who likes hip hop should like the Diaz brothers, man. I find that the only haters of the Diaz brothers nowadays is just like that fucking white. You know, when you get these people that are so pussy, they don't want to acknowledge that fighting's even a cool thing. Like, you know, because you know, these people need to try and look cool to women. So if there's a woman there and, you know, there's fighting on, instead of going, yeah, much respect to those guys, it's not something I could ever do because I'm not built like that and I'm not about that life. Not many people are humble like that. You generally find people that go, oh, fighting, that's barbaric and for savages and it just comes from a place of fear. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, all fighters should be fucking respected. Man up. Get me.
We'll have to, if they're ever coming to fight at Glasgow, one of them, you'll have to give them a tweet like, yo, I know you guys smoke, like, get a quick interview with us and we'll hook you, and you'll be able to hook them up with a little fucking smoke. I tried to do that with John Carpenter. I messaged John Carpenter and it's like, look, bro, I know you like to smoke. I can hook you up when you come to Britain if you need a little smoke or something. I've got people that'll my people and no people who can hook you up. Like, as I said, did I tell you the time I got weed for Lloyd Kaufman?
Nah, did he have good weed, yeah?
Well, no, obviously.
Well, you don't know, actually.
No, I don't know, but I worked on a movie, and Lloyd Kaufman was cameoing in it, and I'm a huge fan of Lloyd Kaufman. I love Toxic Avenger and shit. That's my guy. And so I said hello to him on the film set. I were there doing some gunshot effects, some blood squibs, and he was cameoing in the movie. And then after a while, one of his people came up to me, and they were like, "Hi, Lloyd wanted to ask, you don't know anybody that could get him some weed?" And I'm like, why are you asking me? And he's like, yeah, he likes to have a smoke, and you just look like the kind of guy that could get some weed. And I says, well, I don't smoke weed, but I know a lot of people, so I can pretty much get you anything. So I just put on my Facebook, look, I'm in such and such a place. I'm with Lloyd Kaufman. He needs a special favor. Feel free to come and drop him some off. That's all I did. Someone on my Facebook saw it, knew what it were, came and dropped Lloyd Kaufman some weed off. So at that point, and they were like, I don't want nothing for it. You're a fucking legend. Just take it. Do you know what I mean? So at that point, Lloyd Kaufman was like my fucking dude for the rest of the day. And I was just like, yo, bro, like, I said, like, if I know it's not. And I know it's like rude to ask. I know you're here doing your acting and stuff, but would it be cool if I could get an interview with you? And they were like, yeah, sure, fucking hell, let's get an interview. But check this, right? This dude had dropped him off this fucking Chef Blues strong fucking weed, and he was so jet lagged and so stoned off his head that by the time I got to him and they would put a camera on him, the interview was just unusable, man. Like, so it was kind of fucking. I kind of like cut my nose off to spite his face. I got close to the dude and chatting to him because of I got this hookup for him, but it licked his head off so much. He was like, "Yo, bro, I'm not gonna lie, I'm pretty fucking baked," because he'd smoked it pure. So yeah, it was that was my experience of meeting Lloyd Kaufman. But because of that, I spoke to him recently about Unit 11. I messaged him and I said, look, we met in Sheffield. I don't know if you remember, but like, this is my movie. I've met it. And he said like, yo, Unit 11 looks like Unit 1 million. I need to see this film. So it's I'm still connected with the dude, and although I wouldn't want to put my film out on trauma, it's not a trauma movie in any way. It's not that vibe. But Lloyd Kaufman's a dude, and if we was ever out in New York or something, if I could hook up with him and get an interview with him, like under better circumstances when he's not stoned to fuck and jet lag, like that'd be awesome. Do you know what I mean? So it's just a little funny story.
I'm telling you, man, we'd bring people together, man. You know, like hold tight people under the stairs, like, you know, I was opening for them, and then before I knew it, we were going halfers on a little thing, and like we were kicking it, like, mate, it's a very communal thing, man. It's a beautiful thing.
It's the universal language of the smoker, I suppose. Like I said, I don't smoke. I don't know that language, but all I had to put on my Facebook was, look, Lloyd Kaufman's here. He needs a little thing. If anyone could hook him up, he'd appreciate it. And because of that, I got to go back to his hotel and chill with him and his people. And
that's crazy.
I got to do an interview. I got to talk to him lots, but by the time I got to talk to him and ask him lots of questions, but by the time there was a camera on him, he was a bit tired and a bit stoned that I never ended up using it. I don't like putting them interviews out. Like, that's the reason I didn't do one with Kane Hodder, because he was so like jet lagged and tired after 2 days as doing his signings and stuff. I didn't want to have an half-assed interview with him. Do you know what I mean? I'd rather wait and do it. And if I never get it again, then whatever. Like, I'd rather have done it right than done it half-assed and not done it properly.
Lloyd Kaufman, you're a legend, but you're also a bit of a lightweight, man, because you know me, Theo.
Yeah.
Oi, you can hit me with whatever you want, and I'll be able to do this podcast. In fact,
but this is a 70-year-old man, bro. He's like 70 years old.
I feel you, but yo, he should have the tolerance of an absolute fucking bulldog at that age. You know what I mean?
I don't know how much he smokes. He just happened to. He might have like just a little bit now and again, and because he was jet lagged and wanted to chill, he wanted a bit of a smoke and thought if he can get some, then he can get some. He might not be He might not be like you. Not everyone's like you. Not everyone's a fucking.
I know. Let me tell you a story. Yeah, this is a fucking funny little story to end it on. Because everyone involved ended up okay, by the way.
Okay.
I'm going to change a couple names here. So I was in a place.
I was in a place with Dave.
Basically, I was in a town, and I hadn't seen my two old friends for a while. So I was like, yo, I'm doing a gig in this town. They were like, yo, we're actually back staying with our dad just now. But of course you can crash at ours, right?
Yeah.
So I go to crash at theirs for the night. And their dad, who I knew as well, like, you know, a cool old guy, right?
Yep.
He comes back in from the pub at 2 a.m. And I'm bunning the thing. And he's like, he walks up, you know, as the confident older guy does, and like, give me some of that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was like, I warn you, I've packed it quite tough. And he was like, give me some of that. And you know, he took it like, what the fuck are you talking about, yeah? So he goes out on the doorstep. I've been around the
block a few times. I fucking smoked weed before. I can handle it.
Yeah.
That kind of
attitude. No, he's a regular bunner. He was like, give me that shit, right? So he goes out on the doorstep, and I'm chilling in his living room. And then 2 seconds later, all I hear is, poof. And then one of my mates go, Dad! And I was like, uh-oh. And then fucking basically, he'd had 2 pulls of my thing and fucking face planted outside the front door, mate. So yeah. Let that be a lesson. Don't always think you can handle my thing.
Well, bro, one guy I know who's very close to me, who I'm not going to say his name, and he wouldn't even care if I did say his name, but I ain't going to just in case. He once got a call from one of his people, and he said, yo, I'm with a certain someone who'd like a smoke, if you can pass it to someone to drive him down to London. And he's like, who's this certain someone? The certain someone was George Michael. So basically, that was the night that George Michael crashed his car in London.
Oh shit.
so
you know, Big Dev won't even be mad at me name dropping him, yeah, because he's an OG. Shout out to Big Dev.
Yeah.
Big Dev was
I remember
Big Dev was the guy you know, when I was 17, he was one of the first guys that heard my music and put me on his label in Glasgow. Well, he's based in Paisley, but you know,
Yeah,
Glasgow
I met
area.
him when I came up with you years ago. I remember Big Dev, big up.
Yeah, I'm just saying this for the sake of the listeners,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, but yeah, the very first time I met Big Dev, now keep in mind at this point, he's in his prime OG status, chilling in the ends in Fergusley Park in Paisley. I come round, I light up a little thing, and again, give me some of that.
Yeah.
And then about 10 minutes later, Dev's like, yo, BA, I don't want to seem rude. I know I've just met you, but I think I'm about to white you, mate. he just he went and laid down on the kitchen floor. That was the first ever time I met Dev, man.
Well, this is why I don't. This is why I have never had any interest in smoking anything, because
Nah,
it's
but
just I have a cigar on some on some Expendables / Chef Spendables shit. Like, do you know what I mean? When the occasion calls for it. But this is why I've never wanted to get involved with any of that shit.
Let me break it down a little bit.
Yeah.
Do you know about sativa and indica?
Oh yeah, I know it all. People drilled this into my head for years.
Yeah, I'm not trying to fucking preach it to you. All I'm saying is, yeah, for me, indica ain't really the one. The way I see it, if you like indicas, you might as well go start taking opiates or something if you're looking for that sort of hit off your thing. But sativa, it just makes you see when everyone else is thinking straight ahead. It makes you think sideways sometimes.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying?
I probably think sideways enough anyway myself.
I feel you, man. Some people don't need that shit. I say the same shit whenever people offer me hallucinogens. I'm like, no thanks. What I see is fucked up enough anyway, mate.
Yeah,
Cheers.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's all good. But yeah. I'm not trying to become Joe Rogan and push that shit on you, Theo. Don't worry.
Well, yeah, it's looking like the sun's going down. So this is the supply ravager clock. You get me? We need
Scavenging time.
This is when we go out and find our supplies to bring that back to the Lowdown Shelter so that we can stay laying low for another week and bring you a podcast next week. But yeah, nice podcast there, bro. We went through a lot of cool stuff, and if we don't get through your questions, it's literally because we don't have time. But I like to always try and get through everything that people send us, so always send the questions. We'll always try and get through them, and if there's any that's really fucking good, like, I'll always make sure that we at least try and brush over them. Do you know what I mean?
And if we miss one, this week, you know, like we've done in the past, man, we'll just fucking go back and hit up some old questions if there's a week where there ain't many questions, or we want some more questions and ain't happy with the ones we got this week. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so even if we don't answer
exactly.
it might be on next week's or something.
That's it. And we've got a couple of specials dropping that I won't say what they are now. I'll just wait to let them drop in their own time. But for now, I've been Theo Cane as always. That's my brother Respek BA, and you have been locked into the Slimehouse Squadcast. If you want to send us any questions, get them over to facebook.com/SlimehouseTV. You can check out our previous episodes over on www.slimehousetv.com, and also on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Theo Cane Garvey. I'm Theo Cane, that's Respek BA, and this has been the motherfucking Lowdown Shelter.